Steeler Nation, you know what that smell is. Report day, Steelers training camp, St. Vincent College. It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's time to get the work. The standard is the standard. You are tuned into the Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. I'm Jay York Football. This is Mic'd Up Sports One. Yinsed out as always. How are you today?
I'm good. You said it, man. Training camp is here. It's arrived. Saw a lot of the guys heading down today. That classic St. Vincent's vibe, walking down with their backpacks, their TVs, their PlayStation 5s, getting ready to go to work, like you said, play some NCAA 25 probably, eat their snacks they got from Target, like old school camp days. So it'd be good to talk to somebody today who's experienced some of that, and this guy bleeds black and gold, so he's going to break down some Steelers stuff for us. So go ahead, Shane. You can run it, man, and let's do it.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy.
Harris Smith shields. Flacco Polamalu takes it home. Super Bowl 43. Pittsburgh might be bound for that thanks to number 43.
The sickest Pittsburgh Steelers podcast.
Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
I'm fortunate I get to see this guy quite often. I cut him open earlier this week, and he did bleed black and gold. I can confirm that. So it's none other than my guy, Danny Bencomo. Bencomo, what is up?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. An absolute honor to be on the show. I watch you gentlemen religiously every time you got a new show on Tuesdays, and I usually check it out on Wednesdays. Even got my girlfriend to watch a couple of the podcasts as well.
Great.
She definitely appreciates you guys, and she loves you both, but she's mad fixed on you, Jordan. She thinks you're mad cute, bro. So
Oh,
no. You one of these days.
Oh, no. You better be careful there, Jordan.
Bro. Thank you, gentlemen.
This will put you back in her good graces, I guess, because you want me to star this show, not Jordan. But yeah, man, everybody reporting like we said, and you got a football background yourself. Let everybody know what the football background is and how you became so involved in this game, man.
Man, let me tell you, I've been an avid sports fan since I want to say I was 6 years old, dating back to '79. I remember watching the Steelers playing in the Super Bowl against the Rams, and ever since then, I just got into Pop Warner, contact. I love the physicality. I've played every level of competitive football or sports since I was basically 8 years old, as I mentioned, dating back to '81. So Pop Warner, junior high football, high school football down here in Miami, played for the South Miami Cobras. I was fortunate enough to get recruited by various universities, but I wound up going to Liberty University from '91 to '93. The Flames, who are now a powerhouse in some sorts, over the last couple of years, and love to see the university growing. And after I had left, unfortunately, due to some issues, I didn't get to finish my career at Liberty. So I came down back home to help the family out, and I started to play semi-pro ball in the state of Florida, various cities here, Miami and Hollywood, Florida, and I got recruited by several scouts from the Dallas Cowboys during the ASC camps, which was run by Gil Brandt back in the day. Everybody knows him, who passed away recently. He had been basically started the combine with the Dallas Cowboys dating back to, I want to say, 1969. So when it came to 40s, shuttle runs, verts, that's all product of the Gil Brandt regime. And Mike Zimmer, the defensive back coach from the Cowboys at the time, actually came to one of the jamborees that we had in Orlando and actually asked him to come to training camp with the Cowboys back in '99. So it's I went from the penthouse to the outhouse, and then got invited in to join the team of the decade of the '90s, they were on the last leg of run of the '99 season. That was the Chan Gailey regime. It wasn't necessarily the Barry Switzer or the Jimmy Johnson era, but they still had a great amount of players that were still there. The vestige, between Aikman, Irving, and Smith. That was the last year all three were together. But they had guys like Darren Woodson, Kevin Smith, number one draft picks. Deion Sanders last year with the Cowboys was there in '99. I had a locker not too far away from him. So it was just a pleasure to have been brought in, and didn't get to last as long as Ed O'Neill said recently on a recent podcast. I had a cup of coffee with the Steelers. Well, I had a cup of coffee with the Cowboys, My favorite thing that I can remember most than anything about camp, which 25 years ago on the 26th, which would be Mondays, when I actually made my way out to Wichita Falls, Texas, for training camp with the Cowboys at Midwestern State University. So I can't believe it's been 25 years. I was a much different looking, sounding kind of individual back then.
You're still a good looking guy. Come on now, man. What
It's
you obviously, like you said, every fall, end of summer, I should say, you're gearing up for it. What's the mindset? Is it like first day of school jitters every time you were doing it when this season hit, when this time of year hit?
It's every first day of school, you remember the smell of the classroom when you first got in there, right? And that's something that I've always remembered the first time I ever went to any kind of camp. Just the smell of the atmosphere, the testosterone in the air, the alpha male syndrome that seems to permeate with everybody. You have incumbents that know that they're entrenched, then you have the young, next generation guys that are trying to make their names into the teams. So you come from different universities, different, upbringings, and now you have to blend and get together with the 53 plus guys and the coaching staff. So it's humbling because you definitely come from a small pond in your area, and then you're thrown into the wide ocean, and you're being asked to swim to a respective shore and believe and trust the captain that's manning the ship. So you got to leave the ego at the door, because I'll tell you right now, training camp will humble you in ways that you have no idea. Muscles don't want to work at the end of the day. Fatigue sets in. You got to go to meetings. You're asked questions upon the spur of the moment. You have to have the answer. You literally have to be a machine to regurgitate all the information that's being asked of you in a small window of time. I mean, training camp is really 21 days, 3 weeks to get it all ready before any combat is to be taking place between the preseason games, travel, or the first regular season game. So I know over the last couple of years, a lot of teams don't take training camp as seriously because of the lack of contact. There's no hitting. There's hardly any tackling anymore. I know that our Steelers are one of the last teams that deals with physicality in the elements of St. Vincent. That it hasn't changed from Coach Noel to Coach Coward to Coach Tomlin. To get him right, you got to get him beat up. We talked about this all the time, Mike. How can you be a boxer if you don't take sparring? How can you accept to get hit if you don't learn to take the hits and to build up that lactic acid, to build up the toughness that you need to get through the day? It's almost like a Muay Thai fighter kicking the bamboo with his shin. God forbid you don't do that. You get into a fight with a guy and he kicks you and your leg snaps. So you need this physicality. You need to build the body to accept and deal with fatigue and to get through it, because come the fourth quarter, everybody's got a Charlie horse. Everybody's got a banged up, set of body parts that they need to work at the last moment. So you want the best team out there, it starts today.
That's funny you say that, because like we talk to a lot of guys obviously, and they always say like that first hit, like you just want to get it out of the way to be like, okay, like that stung, but like I needed that because now I know what to expect. If you're like, trying to not get hit, then you're going to go out on the field and that first one's going to be a lot worse. But if you kind of get banged up a little bit and say, okay, I'm back in football mode, now I'm ready to go. That's kind of what I took from that. And I it's good to hear someone, that actually lived it. In training camp as well, it is just what you said, like the camaraderie of it. It's like you're kind of like back in school, like you said. They're just, especially up at St. Vincent, I think that up there, the best thing is it's like that's where the team building and everything happens right there. Like guys coming together, relationships being built, bonds. And I think that never gets old, because that's what makes Super Bowl champion teams, being able to, just kind of like live it in those 21 days, make it count, and get ready for the real thing.
Well said. You hit it on the head. It's, history is very important with franchises. And I've noticed over the last 15, 20 years with franchises building better facilities, better amenities, practice facilities, domes, they change their training camps every couple of years. The Steelers have not changed their training camp, correct me if I'm wrong, for about 34 years now.
I think COVID was the only time that they they did it at the stadium. It was like those couple of years or whatever it was. But they've been going up to St. Vincent, and this. It's just a beautiful place, like very peaceful. and just, just get to work type deal. You can kind of get away off the grid and just focus on football. And that's what we hope they're doing. I know Russell Wilson, I think I just heard him say, we have work to do and this is where it all starts. That Super Bowl mentality is, as they say, the standard is the standard. And we're trying to get back to the standard and chase that 7 Lombardi. So this is where it all starts. Set the tone, new energy, a lot of optimism this year, just with the new quarterbacks. Just talk about that a little bit. Just obviously, we watched Kenny Pickett for 2 years, and I wish him the best in Philadelphia, but it just didn't work out here in Pittsburgh. You got a guy like Russell Wilson and someone of his pedigree, Justin Fields knocking at the door. I think a healthy competition in football, this as well, is just going to push those guys to be the best that they can be. Just kind of talk about that quarterback situation a little bit and where you see them in the pecking order in the AFC North.
It's odd to see such athleticism at our quarterback position because other than Cordell Stewart, we've never had such
Slash.
We've never had a dynamic, player under center in such a way. We've never actually used the NFL's athleticism for the quarterback position the way other teams have.
Mike Vick, maybe, but he was on his way out. I still forget that he was a Steelers quarterback. That's just crazy. That's still crazy.
The San Diego game in 2015, brother, the last second win with Le'Veon over the goal line. That pass to, I want to say it was Wheaton, that nobody had an idea in the fourth quarter to tie it up. Which big bomb running to the left. I mean, it's odd, but the NFL has changed the way we play under quarterback. They don't want him under center. They don't want the traditional play action pass on third down. They want literally under shotgun from the first, second, spread the field out, take advantage. So I realized as much as I wanted Kenny to succeed, it's such a different game in college when it's usually, you could tell the matchup, I have the better receiver against their subpar 3-star defensive back. You don't need to throw to a window. You just throw to the guy. In the NFL, everybody could run. Everybody could diagnose plays. Everybody has read recognition. So I think for Justin, who is more athletic than anybody really realizes, learning from Russell, who sees passing windows, sees alignments pre-snap, could learn from him to be told. When I went to the NFL, I saw how Aikman was coached to throw to spots, throw to windows, to see certain coverages. If the safety was inside a specific hash, the out route was always going to be there, whether he had hit his stride or not. The trust factor is always astonishing to see when a quarterback throws to a spot, the receiver's not really open. He will get there when the ball gets there at the same time. That's something that Kenny couldn't do. How many times did he miss Pickens for the drags over the center? Yeah. The real easy routes that you should hit, but it was second guessing himself because he would always look deep, then intermediate, then short. Well, we got a quarterback that has seen it all over his 12 plus seasons. He'll take the check downs. He'll take the intermediate routes.
Deep ball.
Freiermuth could always be open on 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7 because he knows what we need to do is move the chains and then address the deep ball outside of the hashes. I think it will be a more professional offense with Russell under center and with Justin taking good notes. God forbid if there's an injury to happen, we'll use athleticism more. But it will be great to see a competitive offense that could trade possession for possession. If a team goes up by 3, we could come back and counter with 7. If a team goes up by 10, well, we were not going to let it get far away with a 17-point lead. It's just you have to be able to answer possession for possession in the NFL. We can't go back down 10-0, 13-0, and wish that our defense holds them to the fourth quarter and we make a rally when we throw the playbook out the window and we just basically 4 quarters and everybody get open. So Arthur Smith's offense should be more dictated to ball control, moving the chains, and then the play action, big open passes to our receivers. Pickens should be always open one-on-one down the hashes, man.
They need to get you on the staff.
I'm telling you, I'm not going to call you old, but you admitted it. You're old school. And you mentioned the name Arthur Smith. Old school means ground and pound. And you have Najee, you have Jalen, and you have rebuilt an offensive line. I'd imagine you'd expect, as you kind of just alluded to, this team to try and run the ball down people's throats.
I want to go back, and I hate it because it was so boring in the Ron Earhart era of the 90s with Cower Power. But the first 2 downs, you knew it was a run. Maybe you would get a bootleg play action pass with Neil O'Donnell to Eric Green.
Run, pass.
But we ball controlled. then the other team had to basically throw their playbook out the window and fall prey to the blitz, fall prey to the long down. So the NFL has always been a copycat league. I want to say since 2016, we've seen smaller defensive linemen, smaller linebackers, even smaller cornerbacks, because now they have to be smaller to cover the third and the fourth receiver. They're already playing on first and second down. So I'm noticing a throwback to certain teams that are going back to bigger offensive linemen, bigger tight ends, using running backs up the gut to basically wear down the smaller defenses. Well, if your defensive tackle weighs 260 pounds, I'm going to use my 320-pound guard to maul you to death. I don't have to fall privy to the way the NFL wants to play air-it-out flag football. Everybody wants to throw the ball like it's the Rams of the 90s, right? Well, if you got the bigger meat eaters up front, I'm going to pound you to death. I'm going to beat you down. Your defense is not going to be anywhere near able to stop us. And then later on, we could choose when to pass as opposed to I have to pass. So I think Arthur Smith's mentality is stronger usually helps you in the trenches. And the offensive line built from the center to the guards are of necessity. Our tackles are very athletic to be able to get out on the space pass rushers. But the most important thing is if you don't establish that toughness on the interior of the line, and with Najee's not a flashy runner. He's not Le'Veon. He's never of the bigger guys. He is just a big bruiser that likes to get guys to hit him and wear them down. Well, allow him to use his fascist body to the best of his abilities, beat guys to a pulp, and then we hit him with Jalen Warren on the short screens or the sprint draws, and then they can't catch him because they're beat up. So on paper, I love what I have. I need to see them in the first couple of weeks to see if they're going to follow a game plan. They're just going to follow suit and try little things. So Arthur Smith's offense has been pretty predicated to tight end sets, single backs. Once in a while, you get maybe multiple receiver sets in motion just to see what the defense is doing. But I'm loving the offensive line, gentlemen, that we brought in. I think our tight ends are better than people give them credit for. I know we don't have a fullback, but Hayward is always versatile. Coming off short yardage, could take we hate to say it, the jet sweep for maybe a couple of ground gains.
Don't
right?
say that. Don't say that on this podcast.
But the 2 times we used them on it, they were first down. So
right.
we gave them the handoff, right? So I'm not going to care so much, but toughness needs to be predicated for Steeler football within the offensive line and the defensive line. If you're not tough in the trenches, there's nothing we could do to save ourselves on the back end. So as much as we want to get the great linebacker core back, they don't mean anything if our defensive line is not strong. As great as our skilled position players are, if our offensive line is not mean and together and they build some sort of camaraderie, we're not going anywhere. So these last 2 drafts, super happy. Hate to say it, sometimes you got to take a negative to get a positive, but doing with the candidate regime the last couple of years, I think it was necessary to get a true professional like an Arthur Smith. And look, he's not a head coach. Honestly, he's a coordinator. So bring him in. Let him use his toughness when it comes to running the ball and really cool design set plays when it comes to passing plays. Great crossing routes, great underneath and over-the-top receiving routes combinations that I haven't seen in a very long time. So maybe it may not be the Haley offense, maybe more of the 2004 Wisenhunt offense that we did well with 2004-05 before he left. So look, we won a Super Bowl with those guys, with Heath Miller, with Randall L., Willie Parker, and a great offensive line back then with what? I can name them all. Smith, Faneca, Hardings. We had Simmons and we had Starks. Meat eaters, bro. Big, tough guys. Let's bring it back this year.
For sure. You're watching or listening to the Sick Podcast Steelers. Crazy. We got one of the best football minds in the game on Danny Bencoma. I got one more for you and then toss it out to Jordan to see if he has anything to finish it off. We're talking about the obvious factors: ground and pound, quarterback play, offensive coordinator upgrade. Give me something maybe that not enough people are talking about, or an X factor on this team, something that, will help them win some football games that aren't related to, the traditional kind of pass catchers, quarterbacks, and skilled position players.
You and I talk about this all the time, and I know it's a sore subject for most Steelers fans. Our secondary. It's one of the most difficult groups to ever really embrace, because sometimes I think we just don't address it early on with apex players. Sometimes we take other guys, landed misfit toys, free agents, and we bring them into the fold and try to rectify the careers. But the size of the secondary that I see now with the corners, and the safeties. It's a physical group. We have 4 corners right now in camp that are over 6 feet, 6'2". We also have safeties that are around 6'2" sorts. Elliott was a great sign, stealing him from the Dolphins. That is a poor man's great version of, I want to say, reminds me of like Chris Hope. Reminds me a little bit of RC back in the day, a good tackler in the box that knows how to play his spot in the deep third of the secondary. I've never seen him get beat deep. I've never truly seen him take a bad route when he's running the play down inside out as a safety. So we need a complementary safety to allow Minka to be the center fielder. He hasn't been a great center fielder since 2020. He's 2021. He was usually the linebacker. 2022 had a great year, but we didn't go anywhere. Last year he was injured. So we have one of the best athletic defensive backs we have ever had on our team. We have to find a way to allow him to be a Swiss Army knife, to get teams to worry about where he's going to be lined up. You don't have to worry about him when he's 20 yards downfield. And sometimes when he's up at the line of scrimmage, you could go away from him. But Elliott's signing, along with Casey, if he's able to make the squad as well, gives us 3 great veteran safeties that love that contact, that physicality. And we need to address that in the secondary. And you know me as a former DB, if you're not hunting, and if you don't got any colors on your helmet, you're not playing, bro.
There you have it. Man, we're going to have you on during the season. This expertise is just great. This has been a great episode, and we really appreciate your time. Hey, before I just had one more thing that we'll end on. Again, appreciate your time. I'm glad that you were able to come on. What would, to you personally, would be a successful Pittsburgh Steeler season this year? Would it be a playoff win, or is it Super Bowl or bust? Or what are you looking for this season to say, okay, this was a success?
For us, winning the division is first and foremost.
Yes.
I am paramount that if you want a great season, you want to get somewhere, specifically in the playoffs, you have to win your division.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way around it. And considering how the division is by far the best in football based on drafted players that have produced, this AFC North is better than I've ever remembered since the realignment since 2002, because everybody has an apex player on offense or on defensive line or in the secondary, the linebackers. The fact that we're able to steal Queen from the Ravens, I haven't seen a thievery like that in the division since. It
doesn't even seem real, to be honest.
Not since the Patriots lost Curtis Martin to the Jets in 98 have we seen something this vile of a player in his prime.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
24 years old. Mike tweeted it like 6 months ago when the trade happened. I didn't know he was still that young, and just to think that he's still only 24 years old is absolutely insane.
I actually posted something last year. The game at I still call it Heinz Field. My apologies.
That's fine. I think don't apologize. We don't apologize for that.
You remember there's a video of Queen and Minka at the 50-yard line during their warm-ups, and they're getting in each other's faces, and
I
Queen
just watched that clip.
What you doing? You just
worry about your team.
And who would have thought that these 2 apex leaders are now running the same show on one side of the ball? It's mind-boggling. So for me, again, win the division. We need, and I've always said this, whenever you have a season that you know you're going to get something, you win a game that you thought you were going to lose, and you take it from the clutches of defeat and you bring it back. I remember in the 04 season for Ben, that magical season, everything was going well, and then we wound up getting behind on the Cowboys at Cowboy Stadium. We had to bring back 10 points in like the last 4 minutes to win that game, last second win. We did the same thing with the Giants, and it catapults you when you know you could take defeat from the clutches and bring it back, right? So we need one of those monumental wins, not that we're getting destroyed, but something that we said, well, we were going to lose this game and we brought it back. Maybe it's the defense or the return game, which is going to be very different this year, or maybe it's Wilson having a moment like it's 2014 or 15 where he's leading the team at the offense and putting up big yardage. But this is the 2024 season. Every number 4 season since 74, the Steelers have had a great season. 74 Super Bowl, 84 AFC Championship, 94 AFC Championship, even though O'Donnell missed John L. Williams wide open in the end zone for the touchdown. 2004, the 15-1 season. 2014, we win the AFC North with that wonderful year with the Killer Bees and Ben's 12 touchdowns and back-to-back games, and now it's 2024. So I expect at least a 12-5 season.
I love it. Danny Bencomo, you're the best, man.
Thank you. Hopefully I'm fortunate enough to meet you soon.
Tell you what,
Great
that
stuff.
was it was awesome having him on. I don't think it is hyperbole to say he's one of the best football minds around, legitimately.
Yeah.
And I loved his answer about what would be a successful season. We ask everybody this, right, Jordan?
Yeah.
How many people have said win the division? I haven't heard that much, right? We always say, okay, a playoff.
I mean, we had the shirts, King of the North.
King of the North, again, would be huge. Nobody is picking them to win the division. People are taking Baltimore again, a team obviously that could win 13 games. The Bengals, a healthy Joe Burrow. You usually see the Steelers coming in around third in the pecking order in the AFC North above the Browns. And, hey, maybe they'll fight for that last wild card spot. If you win the division, you obviously get a home playoff game at the very least. And you could potentially get a bye. Who knows if they have an outstanding season like Baltimore did last season. So I love that. I think that's a good call. If they win the division, I don't disagree. And I think if you win a playoff game after that, I think Steeler fans, we're all greedy. We won a Super Bowl naturally every single season. It's always Super Bowl.
I mean,
but if they win the division and win a playoff game, and we look back at it this time next year, I think we'll all be pretty content. Maybe the right word.
Yeah. And I'll say, we'll end on this. I'll say this. Look at Lamar Jackson's record against the Steelers. Don't need to remind Ravens fans about that. Deshaun Watson and the Browns are the Browns. I don't think the universe wants Deshaun Watson to win. So I think the Browns are going to be in the cellar. And health-wise, the Bengals, Broadway Joe, whatever you want to call them. I don't know how the offensive line is over there. The Bengals are definitely beatable. The Steelers showed in the past. So, I really still think, I'm not afraid, and I'm not just being what I'm saying is that we're still the kings of the North. If you look at it any way you slice it, and I don't see why they can't win the AFC North this year with good quarterback play, offensive line clicks. You have the defense. We know what they're capable of. So I think the sky's the limit, and maybe I'm being a little bit too optimistic, but I mean, just look at it. It's really not too far-fetched.
No, and we are the kings of the North. If you look back the last 2 decades, maybe not as of late, but it's never out of the question for a Pittsburgh Steelers team with a lot of talent to take that pole position back. So that's a great goal to have, a great starting point, and I think on a lot of levels would define a successful season.
Yep. Well, hey, we appreciate everyone hanging out with us. Thanks to Daniel for coming on. Just great football-minded guy and big fan of the show, so glad to get him on.
You think he remembers enough Steelers stuff?
I think he's like an almanac. I think he might give you a run for your money, to be honest.
No, he crushes me in that.
Hey, well, thanks for hanging out on the one and only The Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. Until next time, training camp is here, baby. We're bringing back the standard number 7, baby. It's coming soon. We'll see you guys soon. Take care.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Steelers Crazy on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.